So at Good Vibes, we're a little bit different to most music schools in that we don't just teach instruments and do band coaching. We actually have a whole teaching philosophy around everything we do. So let's talk a little bit about what that is.
Exactly. So, what we did is we pulled together our team of expert pro musicians and we started discussing going, actually, what's it take to be a musician, not just of right now, but of the future as well. And what we discovered and came up with was these 5 strands that it takes to be that future musician. And they are ability, creativity, musicality, collaboration, and performance.
So let's dive in and find out a little bit more about those.
So the second pillar that we have is creativity, which is all about how we are creative with our instruments. And that's a really important aspect of contemporary music. So as a pro contemporary musician, Ben, what does creativity mean for you?
Yeah, so for me, creativity was one of the fundamental reasons I enjoyed playing music. When I started playing guitar and bass, started playing in bands, I really wanted to write. I really wanted to create music. So I think for contemporary musicians, jazz musicians particularly, it's such a massive area of your musicality and your ability that it's a really, really important thing to explore, not just from a songwriting point of view, but also things like improvisation, production, recording.
And that happens actually across all of the instruments, particularly in contemporary music. So it could be that you're adding a drum fill, it could be adding you're putting a screaming guitar solo, and so on.
Absolutely, and I think one of the biggest enjoyments I get from playing music is when I'm playing in a room with other people and we're creating something. You know, not necessarily, even if you're playing a cover and you're playing somebody else's music, putting your own spin on it or recording together, writing, improvising, that for me is the real enjoyment aspect.
That's really interesting because as people know from listening to other videos is that I'm actually a classical musician, and the improvisation creativity side is quite a scary kind of aspect for me personally. So in a lesson kind of point of view, how do you go about teaching that creativity, improvisation, composition kind of element?
Yeah, so it can look several different ways, really. I'm quite hot on the idea of using technology with my students. I really like to use things like digital audio workstations, do recording with them so they get a real idea of what that looks like and what can be achieved through that. So it could be that we are recording a piece of music together. Sometimes we're learning a new scale or new mode or a new idea. I'll kind of go, okay, let's see how we can make this work. Let's stick a couple of chords on a backing track or a loop pedal and just play and see what comes out.
It's really interesting that we're using so much kind of technology, things that are becoming mainstream and really accessible now. And obviously we've got our star levels. How does the creativity fit in with the star levels in there as well?
Yeah, so that's something that we're developing at the moment, because at the moment, as we said previously, that the star levels are kind of a benchmark of ability, but we're developing it into incorporate all of our 5 pillars. So the creativity aspect is going to be things like for the drums, it's going to be here's 2 bars to come up with a drum fill. You know, for guitar, it's going to be, okay, here's a 8-bar sequence of chords, you know, play some lead line over it. Same thing potentially for keys. For vocals, it might be coming up with your own lyrics.
So it's the idea that you're embedding that in lessons, in the star levels from the very beginning, so that it just becomes a natural part of being a modern musician.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important for students from the very, very beginning stages to start being able to create with their instruments. So even if it's you've learned 4 notes, great. You choose the order we play them in. You know, what do you like the sound of? And as a teacher, it's really good because you can kind of embed that yourself. For example, if I was teaching you a guitar lesson and I've taught you one scale, the C major scale, I'll let you choose the rhythm and how you're going to play those notes in terms of order, and I can just change what I'm playing underneath it. Yeah. And I can, then we can kind of talk about, okay, well, what happens when I play an A minor underneath it? How does that sound different?
And that then actually leads into the kind of next pillar of around musicality, because then you can start talking about feel and the emotions that it creates and why you chose those things as well.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of the most important things for me about playing music, about being a musician, is it's you're conveying emotion. And the end goal really for most musicians is to try and convey something when you're playing. So be able to create is